Okay, well let's Mike Hansen says, are we going to talk sports or just bitch at each other? I do have a sports adjacent topic to start us with, which is, have you heard this? Kelly Stafford, Matt Stafford's wife, did an interview on a podcast, and I want to play the audio from it because I just want to. There's a couple things about this that I want to address, and I might fall on a side of this. Actually, it might be a side that you expect, but maybe a side that other folks don't expect.
I haven't heard about any of this, so this is all new.
Oh, this is exciting. This will be exciting stuff. Hold on, let's get old Kelly Stafford fired up here. Tell me if you can hear this, by the way.
Wait, so was he trying to casually date and you were all in?
Oh, yeah, girl.
Okay, so she's on this podcast. I believe it's called the Off the Vine podcast, based on the TikTok handle here. I don't know the podcast well. I'm not a loyal listener to the Off the Vine podcast. I'm sorry to report. This is not what I wanted. What am I doing here? I was zoomed in for the earlier, and that's what I want. I want to be. Well, let's see the. Oh, motherfucker.
You're good. You're good right here. Just leave it.
All right,
here.
fine, Alex, fine. Anyways, so they were talking about dating Matt Stafford in college, and people are making a big deal out of this. I'm going to continue playing the rest of it.
Anyways, long story short, it wasn't that cute of a relationship at first. I hated him. I loved him. I dated the backup to piss him off, which worked.
Yes.
He was like,
that'll do it.
He was the bad boy too. Like, Matthew's so sweet and Southern gentleman and all that stuff. And the backup was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Ooh, and it upset him. So they lived in the same dorm because athletes lived in the same dorm, and he would see my car there. And so at one point, he like waited and followed me out and got in my car and wouldn't get out.
Stop.
And he was like,
this is so hot.
I was like, this is amazing. It's working.
Yeah.
I was get out of my car, and he was like, he's not right for you. And I was like, what? You can't tell me that.
Okay, so first off, there's a lot of stuff about this.
This is where you wanted to start today.
That's where I wanted to start because it was fresh in my mind. I had seen the video recently, and so
right.
I know that you and I both have wives. That's one thing I know about us. You have a wife so my wife has never attempted to be like a public figure of any kind. I don't think that your wife like officially was trying to be a public figure, but she certainly was like commenting on Seattle sports in a way that was like participating in the discourse on Twitter. My wife's like never done any of that stuff. No like attempt to gain a following of any kind or to make public comments or jokes or whatever about, which is not a value judgment. But what I'm saying is the reason I'm on Kelly Stafford's side of this, by the way. People are going like, this lady said she fucked the backup quarterback at Georgia. She never said she fucked him. I'll say that. And these are Southern people with blonde hair. These might be save yourself for virginity people. I don't know. Probably not, realistically. One thing it did make me do is go check the 2006 to 2008 Georgia depth chart to see who this person was. And if it's who Antonio Brown thinks he was, I did not recognize the person right off rip.
He was a nobody. He was just some guy.
Sure. Bad boy, apparently. Another part of this that I think is like maybe... So people are making fun of Matt Stafford as though he got cuckolded because his girlfriend dated someone else or his wife dated someone else some point from 2006 to 2008. And then they have like 4 children together now. It's over. Like he won whatever war this is or whatever tired analogy you want to put on this. But also... It's very obvious to me that Matt Stafford's wife, Kelly Stafford, she's doing a bunch of podcast interviews. I actually was just like typed her in. She had a 6-episode stint of a very, I would call it like stilted podcast at some point in 2022, I think, on YouTube of her own. This woman is trying to be in the entertainment world. She lives in Los Angeles. That's the reality. Whether you like that or not, that is the case. And I'm going to tell you this. I tell stories about my wife on stage on occasion that were I not a comedian, they'd be very inappropriate to tell on stage. And I'm not talking about like graphic sexual stuff. I'm talking about just like
maybe you should expand there.
Yeah, I really got
that's the future for you.
I got to step
and I huffed
it up
and I puffed and there was a lot of breathing heavy. And,
I huffed and I puffed and actually that was about the end of it because I do not have the lung capacity that I used to or stamina period. Anyways, so what I would say is I understand people want to have this like I actually don't even think this is like that much of a scandal as far as like what actually happened. Doesn't seem like it's that obviously. One part that's getting underappreciated is Matt Stafford just like camping out in this woman's car as a college student. That's a very 2006 to 2008 thing. That man would be arrested in 2024 if he did that.
Yeah, it's a little something, I'll say.
What is the something?
I'm not gonna say the word.
I think you should say it. It's creepy, or is it?
Yeah.
Does it share is it the same amount of syllables as
a little bit? But you know what? Clearly, that sort of thing appealed to her.
Sure.
Based on everything she said there. Yeah.
No, this type of relationship's fine for you. If Harrison Butker's wife wants to stay at home, you won't stand for that. She must work. Put her in the goddamn coal mines. But
a week ago, he let her out. He let her out of the kitchen. Harrison Butker took his wife out on the town, and they posed for some pictures. And I was like,
yeah. Not only that, she went on a podcast also, by the way, and said, "This is what I want," and everyone's like, "Fuck you, you suck. We hate that about you. We don't like that." And then Harrison Butker saves a person's life, and they're like, "Well, there's no winning anymore. Harrison Butker has unlocked. Half the country is going to hate him no matter what he does." So
yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing about Kelly Stafford. I mean, first of all, people need hobbies. She's a woman in her mid-30s who's raised 4 kids and been married her whole life, and spent a lot of time in Detroit, which had to be rough.
Yeah.
So I would imagine getting to LA is a nice change from where they were previously. And I think I've seen this with a lot of people. You've probably seen this with people your age too. But we all have friends that got married really young, or like they're married to their high school or college sweethearts, and regardless of who the partner is in that marriage or in that relationship, you see a lot of these people get to their mid-30s and they're like, I just watched for the last 10 to 15 years, all of my friends, all the people I know have a great time being single, going out, posting everything they've done on social media. And all I've been doing is sitting at home raising these kids. And now I need something to occupy my time that's not parenting. And I'm sure in their case, in the Stafford's case, they have somebody to take care of these kids that is not Kelly Stafford, right? Sure. So she's probably just looking for something to do. And this is, she's got enough public notoriety to go, have her own pot. For us, it's like, we can't really throw stones. We're doing this for nobody besides ourselves. Really.
That's right. There's supposedly 101 listeners between all platforms right now. Is what. See,
that's
says.
That's if that filled a room, I'd be like, well, I don't know. Should I order a couple pizzas? Like we can it's like a neighborhood watch meeting.
That is true. We could actually afford to pay or to feed all those people, not to pay.
I don't want to do that.
To feed them all.
Fuck them. They can feed themselves.
That's right. I mean, to me, this is a matter of like your own taste in a relationship, and it's like not a scandal. They want to make it a scandal because I feel like quarterbacks are all like the governor of their team. They all have to be, or the president. They're the CEO of their team. Do you ever like? I mean, I'm pretty lucky. One, my wife is like has been a mature adult the whole time I've known her, to a degree anyway. And the ways that she was immature were like financial, not like she would get too drunk and like fuck another dude or something like that. You know what I mean?
We've all been there. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not like ever worried my wife is gonna like embarrass me in any way. One of the reasons is like I have a pretty high tolerance for embarrassment. I'm a comic, right? Like I have very thick skin.
I don't know if anyone. Yeah, I'm not sure anyone could embarrass you more than you could embarrass you.
Absolutely. Well, I've probably said worse about me than someone can say about me.
It's the comedian's code. If you beat everyone else to the joke, then it takes away their power, and that's the key.
That's right. But also like I've had like a couple times where my wife and I were at a place like a brewery, and she's like mad about service, like that bad service, and I'm like, okay, just relax, because I might have to do a comedy show in this place pretty soon. So like let's not make a big deal out of this. Like pay the extra $1 tip to not have them remember that we even exist. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Other than that, like there's absolutely nothing. And I guess like I don't know what I would want if my wife started to like, she's like, I want to do a podcast on my own. I don't know what I would do.
I think you two should do a podcast.
If you think this hasn't been brought up,
you've had all these podcasts with other people.
Sure.
It's now you have to do. I don't even know what
you think. You're the first person to come up with this idea, Alex. You think I'm the reason?
Have you ever listened to a married couples podcast? It's always weird, man.
No, I never have.
I've listened to a couple. It's very strange.
Well, it also seems like to me a very common occurrence in those podcasts is eventually they get divorced because a variety of things. One, Like, I even think having your relationship too much on the internet for me is like, would be too stressful. Like, my wife and I are both like reasonably private people, despite the fact that I'm like actively seeking out an audience. Like, I'm not posting pictures of my house all the time, or my kids, or my wife. That's like very calculated. That's on purpose. That's the relationship we have. But Kelly Stafford is becoming a public figure. That's what's happening. And if that's the case, she's going to tell embarrassing stories about her husband. Her husband just happens to be the starting quarterback of the team in Los Angeles. He won't be that for that much longer. And we won't give a shit about those stories anymore. But it's like, this lady has to act like she's the first lady because her husband is the starting quarterback of like the 5th most beloved franchise in Los Angeles.
Do you remember like 20 years ago, Chris Benson, the major league pitcher, and his wife,
Dude,
Anna
yes.
Benson? That was like a whole saga. Remember that? That was,
Yes.
She like posed for Playboy or something. She was like, when they got together, everybody was like, wow, what a smoke show. And then as time went on, they were like, this relationship might be on shaky ground. And I think they ultimately got divorced, if I remember correctly. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they're still together. I don't know. But that was the first time you really started hearing about players and their wives. Now it's like a whole thing, like the wives and girlfriends movement of athletes. But Anna Benson was like the pioneer that started that whole thing.
I have a brief update on Anna Benson. You are correct. Anna Benson and Chris Benson got divorced in 2012, and then I'm going to read this directly from Wikipedia so as to not get the details wrong. She pleaded and pled always. That's a bad start to the sentence, by the way. But I think I'm going to say pled, even though it says pleaded. She pled guilty to aggravated assault and weapons charges on November 5th, 2013 in Marietta, Georgia, and was sentenced to 15 years probation. Oh, you think that's the end, Alex? It's not the end. In August 2016, Benson was arrested again after she allegedly trespassed in the home at a home in Mableton and stole mail in April of that year. While in jail, she was scheduled to appear at a probation revocation hearing in Cobb County Superior Court in Marietta, but did not show up. A representative for the district attorney, blah, 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 blah. She's whatever. She's she applied for mental health court, probably needed it, probably legit. Not going great for Anna Benson post Chris Benson is what I would say.
It seems like they have some troubles. Yeah.
Did Chris Benson ever pitch for the Mariners?
No, he did not. He
feels like a guy who would have.
Chris Benson was, I remember when he first came up with the Pirates, he was a super prospect. That guy was like, everybody thought he was going to be the next big ace. And he was a good pitcher for a long time. He just never really materialized the way everyone, I think, thought he would. So
yeah, everything they thought Strasburg was going to be, they kind of felt the same thing about Chris Benson at a point.